set, start. Prepare to qualify. You'll never know.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Racing Club International. As we kick off Lamborghini Super Trofeo Season 2, tonight we head to the historic Monza circuit, a track known for its high speed, heavy braking zones and close racing, and also the perfect stage to start a new season with the mighty Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Fresh off his Ginetta Cup Championship win, Andy Boardman lines up alongside a strong field of talented drivers ready to begin their title challenges. With a 5-week-long season ahead, getting off to a strong start tonight will be crucial. I'm John Dalton, joined by Joseph Black and Ash Bibby behind the cameras, and of course our live stewards. And we're looking forward to bringing you all of the action as Super Trofeo Season 2 gets underway here at Monza, Joe.
Yeah, Super Trofeo Season 2, looking forward to it. We haven't had a Super Trofeo spec series for a couple of years, so it's good to be back racing. Of course, it predates me coming into RCI, but never a bad thing to see that Lamborghini.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we jump on board, of course, last Monday's champion, Andy Boardman in the Greased Weasel Racing, number 69, a combination we're used to seeing, making his way around Curva Grande, of course, running up to the second chicane, the Variante della Roggia. It's crucial to get the entry here. Big anti-cut curbs on the inside, and a good run out towards the first part of the Lesmo curves is crucial. Again, get a dive up the inside if you get a bad run off the chicane. Using all of the exit curve here, AstroTurf is the limit before diving back on, slamming the brakes at 50 for the second part of the Curva Lesmo, and then a big run down up to the Ascari chicane. Perfect place here to get a good exit. Slipstream battles under the tunnel, the old banking above your head, and of course look for the marshal's post right hand side. That's your braking point. Hard on the brakes again. Lots of inside curve here. Be careful on the weight transfer, easy to upset the car. Anti-cut curb on the last part of the chicane, and again, track limits here is always catching drivers out in many events, so be careful coming out of turn 10. And then again, another nice long run down to the Parabolica. Again, cambered corner, inside line always favours here. Don't see too many cars making a move stick around the outside, and Andy Boardman running a little bit too deep, as we've already got a few times on the board. Badowski, provisional pole, 147.527. Nico Kumpu in there, Joe Dorber, Aaron Jackson and Andy Boardman, the slowest of the initial laps so far. But again, crucial to note, Joe, no tyre blankets on these cars, so we're probably going to see the faster times coming through in the next 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think just to start off with the 1:47 is not too terrible in Lily Armstrong going up there P3 with a lap time just into the 1:48. So most of the people slotting in actually in the 1:48, with of course the slowest time being just in the 48.977. So very close. Will Stevenson actually taking the top once again. He and Badowski I mean, they've scrapped for so long in the Monday series, and they're looking to do so once again. But there's a couple new names and a couple new faces that we haven't seen, at least since the beginning of the Ginetta series.
Yeah, of course, new names always a good thing here at RCI. A few off Monday regulars that I'm used to seeing as well. Damien Lowe being one of them in the number 97. He's a bit of a close friend, known him a few years through GT Hub. Again, great to see him on the Monday circuit rather than his usual slot in Night Owl. We've also got Adam Romaniuk back as well in the number 29, Polish driver. Again, competed last season's in the Super Trofeo, and actually had a rather good finish, if memory serves me correctly. Third overall, being beaten by Jose Jimenez and Venci Rachinov. Not too much in it either, Joe. 40 points separated P1 from Adam Romaniuk in P3. So another well-rehearsed driver in the realm of Super Trofeos. And of course, Raphael Huell, someone we're used to seeing, very quick in their own right across not only iRacing, ACC as well. So lots of big names on the board. Of course, Will Stevenson, provisional pole at the moment, 147.450. Badowski very close indeed. Huell, Armstrong locked in their own fight as well. Remember how much of a thorn in the side Will Stevenson was of Andy Boardman last season. This could be another fight that we're going to watch go all 5 rounds.
Yeah, and well, of course, as I mentioned before, you've got drivers on that similar pace right up the very top who could just be competing right in there. Les Stevenson up to the line to try and beat that lap time that he set before the 51, and he did a 48.1. So just slotting himself right in the mid-pack, exactly in the middle of this field at the moment, 7/10 off of Will Stevenson. Raphael Huell in P3 at the moment, coming around Parabolica, and yes, we are going to call it Parabolica tonight. His best lap time is a 1:47.7, and he comes up to the line. Beautiful pink and yellow livery, interesting colour combination, but I think he makes it work, and he improves by 0.2 of a second, so a 47.5.
Yeah, very good time there from Raphael Huell. Throws himself forwards a little bit more in the running for, of course, the front row positions here at Monza. The kind of favoured side, I would say, of the grid, or the favoured end of the grid towards the front, certainly, as, of course, 20-odd cars barreling down into turn 1. It's always rather scary. Joe Dorber, good improvement there, 47.622. He's off to the side, back to the pit lane. New tyres, a bit of a lighter fuel load maybe, and back out he should go for another 7 minutes. Of course, 15 minutes on the clock tonight. We're just about halfway through, so we see lots of action down in the pit lane currently. Badowski back in, Kumpu as well as Huell and Dorber. They're getting ready to go once again. Ted Urs in the most cursed livery once again. Apparently this is my problem because the face wasn't big enough on the Ginetta last time, up into P4. It's a very respectable time there. And one of the Whittles present tonight, Richard Whittle. Keith seems to be missing in action currently. Maybe we'll see him later on in the season. Crosses the line, 48.777. It's a good time. Ahead of Redford, just behind Varga. So we're still going to get a few battles, even down the back end of the grid, looking at these one-shot qualifying runs.
We've got just over 6 minutes left in this qualifying session, and it does look to be heating up. Kumpu going right up to the top with less than a tenth splitting the top 3 drivers, and less than 2/10 splitting the top 4. Ted Urs surprisingly right up the very top of this field, so this is going to be incredibly tight as we head through the remainder of this session. Redford getting out of the way of another driver who heads through the final corner, and he's setting himself up as the number 95 to try and beat his previous lap time. Richard Whittle, as you just mentioned, in the lower pack, but hoping to get back up. There's only a 2/10 split between himself and Peter Varga for P13. And then Andy Boardman, who hasn't necessarily had the first couple of laps going exactly his way. A 47.9 is what he's set, and he's about 0.6 off of the provisional pole time of the number 256. But now Boardman comes around the final corner and comes up to the line. We'll see where he ends up going as he crosses the timing board now, and it's going to be a minuscule improvement by 1/10 of a second, a 47.8. Andy Boardman appears to be struggling early on here in Monza.
Yeah, struggling is definitely what Andy Boardman's doing at the moment. Just looking back at the last Super Trofeo Cup, Boardman actually finished P4 in the championship standings overall, took a second at Indianapolis and a third at Brands Hatch. So definitely has the race pace in him to get going, but currently at the moment, the qualifying pace is certainly lacking. Back to the pit lane, back out goes the number 69, and Will Stevenson across the line to take provisional pole. It's a 47.217, beating Kumpu and Badowski to that front row position. Stevenson back to the pit lane, under 5 minutes to go, so could be a kind of last one-shot qualifying and out lap, maybe 2 laps to the good. So 4 laps of fuel, run the car very light and very dry, and just see if you can get that extra 10th or 2 out of it. Christian Benz, usually see him in the endurance side of the calendar more than the sprint side of RCI, but again, great to see another new name on the Monday kind of circuit. As we say, lots of regular faces in the server today though. Mike Redford out of Parabolica towards the line. He'll go just over 4 minutes of the session remaining. It's good enough to jump a place. It's a 48.755, just ahead of Richard Whittle. And I have noticed, I think we had a late Matthew Malcolm join the server as well. And Peter Lundqvist yet to set a time on the board. So possibly going for the old last to first attempt as Varga across the line. Good improvement, 2 places up, just behind Les Stevenson, just ahead of Christian Benz. The Team Monkey Racing car will go another few laps yet.
He made it sound like Malk was dead there. He's not. He's just tardy. But yeah, coming in there, trying to set himself up. 3.6 seconds at the moment off, so a lot of work to do. 3 minutes 25 left in the session up to the line. Comes Whittle now, who's going to try and improve on that previous lap time, the number 9.57 up to the line. And, well, it is an improvement by a tenth of a second. It's enough to move up a place and snatch it back off Mike Redford. It's the battle for P15 really heating up. Matt Malcolm last corner, and we'll see where he is going to be able to go. Of course, he will have had less warm-up as he didn't turn up to the practice session and only turned up to the qualifying just a couple of minutes ago up to the line, though. And it's going to be up to that coveted 15th place. So that battle down at the bottom, heating up quite a lot, in a 48.6. Not a terrible lap time by any stretch of the imagination. Only 1.3 seconds off of Will Stevenson's at the very top. But, I mean, the last few laps now coming in, this could get quite tense.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial, isn't it? Who can get the last kind of lap in, should we say, into the session and get the kind of, clearest of air. I mean, it's not a lot of cars, 19 cars on the server at the moment, so plenty of space to be had around the circuit. Christian Benzer, good improvement, 147.952, up the order he goes, just ahead of Les Stevenson and just behind Andy Boardman. Meanwhile, Badowski through the latter half of the lap under the banking towards the Ascari chicane, and you can see how much movement there is in these Super Trofeo cars, quite kind of softly sprung, a bit forgiving. So makes it a very kind of friendly car, running way too wide through the Ascari chicane over the gravel. That's going to be an invalid lap, so he's going to have to go again. 1 minute 49 on the clock, so we'll definitely get one more lap in at least at this point, and a few other cars behind seeking to get another lap on top. Joe Dorber, very quick in the World Tour Series, and did very well in the iRacing at the weekend, despite not maybe liking iRacing as much as ACC, but nonetheless, Rebound Racing, 777 towards the line. Will it be an improvement? And it is, all the way to the top of the board, second position, 147.315. He's going again, Joe. He feels like he's kind of maybe got another margin of time in him, or he just wants to kind of make an improvement because he knows everybody else is starting to dial up the heat a little bit, and he feels a bit threatened, like he could be shoved off that front row of the grid.
Yeah, and with how close that is at the top of the field, you always feel as though you've got that extra tenth in you, and that's exactly why he would have been going on for another lap. So Joe Dorber here trying to take that pole position off of Will Stevenson. Also the fact that, I mean, you mentioned it earlier on, turn 1 at Monza is never the greatest thing. Of course, these drivers are a little bit more qualified than those you would get in open lobbies, but it's always a nervy moment as you head down to that front row, and the mid-pack isn't exactly where you want to go. Christian Benz going right in the middle of that mid-pack in P8 for the time being. Will Stevenson, by the way, became the first and potentially only driver to go into the 46s, a 46.9 on that previous attempt. So a very, very good lap time. And he just keeps going faster and faster and faster in this session. Just 14 seconds left to go. So this is going to be the last opportunity for these drivers to come across the line and set their lap times up to the line. Then comes Nico Kumpu. Is it going to be an improvement? It is, but he's a 10th off of Will Stevenson. So it's not going to be pole position heading the Finns' way. Marko Badowski around the final corner to look and beat his lap. He is up on that previous lap time of 47.1, but he comes up to the line now. Badowski, what can he do? It's another improvement, but it's not quite enough again. So Stevenson, with that last lap, has eked out that gap, and he looks set to take that pole position. Dorber finishes on his lap without improving, so that's the end of his run. And this could be pole position, most likely is pole position, heading Stevenson's way.
Yeah, Will Stevenson, stellar job, 46.920. Looks relatively untouchable towards the top. Aaron Jackson has an improvement in him. The opening half of the lap is looking good. This will be a personal best as he comes to the line. It's P8 with a 47.487. And as you can see by the amount of white pit markers on the timing tower, not too many cars circulating around on a valid lap. I'm not sure if Nico Kumpu managed to sneak the checkered flag. He's certainly going onwards like he does have another lap in him, Joe. So this could be the only chance to dethrone Will Stevenson. Is it going to be good enough for the Finn? Bouncing over the curbs through the Ascari chicane. Lots of anti-cut, bit of a wiggle. Has to keep the car in line. Hemorrhaged quite a lot of time through the Ascari chicane. Wondering if he's got it in him towards the Parabolica or not. It's going to be a very late braking session and has to get a good run off the corner in order to capitalize this lap. But bleeding time already through the Parabolica. The run off the corner, I don't think is going to be good enough for Nico Kumpu. Such a shame. The lap was looking so good up to the Ascari chicane, and across the line, no improvement for the Finn there. It was a 147.112 in the end, and final qualifying results on your screen at the moment. Will Stevenson takes pole position away. Nico Kumpu joins him on the second row of the grid. In hot contention, though, Marko Badowski and Joe Dorber on the next two rows. Raphael Huel and Ted Urs share together. And we see the fastest third sector all the way down in P6. So that's quite an achievement there for Ted Urs. Adam Romaniuk, Aaron Jackson, Christian Benz, Lily Armstrong, Theobald Roskam, Andy Boardman, last season's Ginetta Cup champion, P12. That's going to be a long hour ahead of him in the race. Peter Varga, Les Stevenson, Matthew Malcolm, Richard Whittle, Mike Redford, Damien Lowe, and Peter Lundqvist. Didn't set a valid time, but did manage to get 3 laps under his belt. So going to be interesting watching the Swede from the back in the 999 to see if he can, of course, make up any time. Small wait between qualifying, of course, the car's gridding up and getting underway. Drivers making the final checks of fuel, brake pads. Are they going to put a bit more aero into the car to keep the car, a bit more settled, maybe in the race scenario? Again, mandatory pit stop here tonight, Joe. Same rule set as it was in the Ginetta Cup. 1 litre of fuel, 57-minute pit window, so very wide indeed. And typically we see a lot of drivers running very late into the stint, coming in, dropping the litre in and going again. And of course, Monza, not too harsh on the tyres, so should see fairly speedy pit stops on the cards tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And well, Monza is a circuit where it's one of those circuits that just is so desperate for racing. It's built in that exact way. So I'm hoping that that's exactly what we're going to be getting tonight, as I'd imagine are the locals, who are very passionate about racing. And well, that's why we host races like this at Monza and circuits along those lines, because of the fact that Italy is just so passionate about motorsports. Now we get to look at the cars lining the Autodromo Internazionale Monza.
Yeah, very colourful grid as always. On Mondays, Will Stevenson, your pole sitter in the yellow car, of course, followed closely by Nico Kumpu. Rebound Racing classic livery there, the Lion Bar sponsorship across the door. We then see the first of the Team Monkey Racing cars, of course, Marko Badowski towards the front. Sister car to Nico Kumpu, Joe Dorber, Raphael Huel and the terrifying livery of Ted Ayres there. Don't look too closely at that. That's certainly the stuff of nightmares there. I just want to say the ACC logo, maybe a little bit too high up on the bonnet on that one. Needs to be brought down a little bit. Adam Romaniuk, clean and simple. Aaron Jackson, the local constabulary, form him today. The Kaiju Police livery on that one. Police reading backwards. Kaiju County Police Send Investigation Unit. Hopefully not too many sends down into turn one. The police will be watching on that one. Gold car of Christian Benz alongside, and then we've got another Kaiju police car. That's Lily Armstrong in P10. Theobald Roskam, again, hot out of the iRacing seat on Saturday's Ready Set Sim Endurance Series. That was a broadcast to watch. Certainly lots of dramas, spills, and thrills throughout that 2 hours 40 race. So definitely watch that one back. Les Stevenson, no livery this week, although we have been promised there is one in the pipeline, and it's going to be one of the best ones yet. Matthew Malcolm, of course, resident Scottishman. I think the blue tartan there akin to him. One of the Whittles, we got Richard Whittle in the 957, and then we got Mike Redford in the iconic kind of red, black and blue colours. Accolades on the roof as always from us here at RCI. Championships he's done particularly well in. Damien Lowe, resident Night Owl racer, now on Mondays. And lastly but no means least, of course, Peter Lundqvist in the 999 at the back. And although it's only 19 cars, Joe, still barreling down into turn one is going to be pretty terrifying. Hopefully drivers have chosen their braking markers based off slightly cold tyres and a heavier fuel load.
Yeah, and if what we've been speaking to Matt Malcolm about his practice is anything to go by, then it should be certainly a spectacle heading down into turn one, I think would be a good word for it. But now they do get prepared, and there's about a minute to go until they get underway for the rolling start here in Monza. But yeah, it should certainly be a very, very good race. Turn one, always exciting, regardless of whether it's actually a little bit carnage or not. It always tends to spring a surprise, and that's exactly what we're hoping to see here tonight. And well, there's always a surprise out of Monza, not necessarily depending on who comes out in the lead at turn number one, especially in the Formula One. You get a lot of surprising results, I think it would be fair to say, and you get a lot of underdog stories as well. And on the Monday series, we are fresh off the back of a Les Stevenson podium. So if that's anything to go by, Monza plus RCI should be a good one.
Yeah, it should certainly be a good one. I stand corrected by the YouTube chat on the pit requirement tonight. There is a tyre change required, so stops should all take about 30 seconds, give or take, depending who is faster, who has more or less damage. And yeah, we'll have to see who has really been practicing the pit entry and pit exit, because that is where everybody is going to be gaining time tonight as drivers begin to get underway on their formation laps. Of course, no tyre blankets for the Pirellis today, so it's going to be a crucial opening lap, although nice and warm, 30 degrees in the air, 38 degrees down on the tarmac. Nice sunny skies to boot as well, so it should be clear until the end at the moment. While the drivers do get around on their formation lap, one car yet to get underway. I'm not sure who that is. That could be maybe a pit lane start coming. Peter Lundqvist, possibly. I want to say he's kind of down the back of the field there. So everybody getting underway bar one car. Very interesting indeed. Perfect time though to tell you about the RCI calendar coming up. It's looking relatively quiet, although plenty of Le Mans Ultimate action on the go. Of course, Friday we do have the LMU GT exclusive series. Round 3 this week coming takes place at Interlagos. Saturday mirrors basically the Friday champ when Nadal Hypersprint also follows Interlagos as well. So if you are a big fan of the Interlagos circuit, doubleheader this week, Friday, Saturday. Head on over to the website, racerci.com. Get your name down for that one. Also, weekend just gone, I did allude to it earlier, the RSS, the Ready, Set, Sim Endurance Series. If iRacing is more your game at the moment, still some sign-up slots left in that one. We're not even kind of halfway through the season at the moment. 4 rounds left to go. Next round takes place Watkins Glen, May 31st. That's got €400 of prize money in as well, and for the first time ever within RCI, we're giving away exclusive trophies. So if you do want to get your hands on some silverware and maybe even some cash, that could be the one for you. World Tour, big shuffle coming up, announced in the Discord today. We're going to be opening up the calendar to one-off entrants, much like the GT World Challenge, with the kind of intercontinental rounds sprinkled in as well. So we'll have a kind of dedicated championship versus some one-off sign-ups that do want to take part. This should allow driver rosters to be a bit less restrictive and allow teams to kind of come and go as they please. Round 2 takes place on the Nordschleife for 24 hours of GT3 racing. So that's one round I certainly didn't want to miss, but unfortunately I will not be here. That's May 17th. That takes place. Server goes live on that one at 11 o'clock with half an hour of practice, half an hour of qualifying. So race will begin midday UK time, roughly, if all the stars do align. Bottom left-hand side of the screen, partners revolving round, all their links down below. We'll touch on them a little bit later, but Ready, Set, Sim, Coach Dave Delta, Greenman Gaming, IMB Raceware, Moser Racing, and not forgetting the Motorsport UK Esports recommended community. But drivers have found their way through the formation lap. Cars are up to temperature. Fuel loads are locked in. Of course, the mandatory pit stop, 1 litre of fuel and some tyres to be added. So again, it doesn't matter with the tyres, 30 seconds regardless. So you could make the car a little bit lighter, split the race in half, and we could see some varying levels of lap time in this early stage. Will Stevenson will have the inside for the first part of the chicane. However, that becomes the outside when the road bends around to the left. Will he get a jump on Nico Kumpu? Will we see some bump drafting tactics from Rebound Racing? Or will Marco Badowski get the jump and split the two and make it 3 wide down into the first chicane? It's normally a long hold here at Monza. The number 199, Matthew Malcolm, starting from the pit lane, not Peter Lundqvist. He did make it underway, and we already have lost 1 driver as we go green here. It's a good start from Badowski. Kumpu tries to cover off, but it's too late. There's a bit of a door bang. Paint has already been traded, and we're not even down to the first corner just yet. Cars thinning out in the background. Looks like Raphael Huell trying to get involved, and the Kaiju, one of the Kaiju police cars, off to the right-hand side. There's a car lengthways stopped on the apex. Everybody scattering around, trying to get back underway. 2 cars down the escape road, Peter Varga and Mike Redford, to name a few. Adam Romaniuk may be caught up in all of the chaos as well, as Matthew Malcolm gets underway from the pit lane. Probably a bit thankful he didn't get involved in the turn 1 chaos, but it is Will Stevenson breaking away with Marco Badowski, and I think we've got Nico Kumpu in tow. Teammate Joe Dorber just behind, fending off Raphael Huell. Top 5 already reaching the Lesmos. There's a yellow flag out in the second chicane, the number 97 of Damien Lowe. Some drama has happened there. I'm sure we'll be catching race replays, and right on cue, almost reading my mind, Damien Lowe, green and turquoise car, runs a bit deep. Varga runs even deeper and helps himself to the brakes of Damien Lowe's number 97. Turned around. That's going to be big rear end damage for Lowe, and front end damage for Peter Varga. Have to wait a few more minutes for the pit windows to open, but they should be back down the lane and fixing that relatively soon if they don't want to miss too much time. I think it was Lily Armstrong's car, Joe, caught up in the turn 1 drama. Looking at the damage down the right hand side, that makes sense. Aaron Jackson still remaining in kind of where he qualified, P8. So Lily Armstrong, something definitely happened down into turn 1 as they set to make a move on Richard Whittle into the Parabolica.
Yeah, and getting through. I mean, it's just a summary of Monza turn 1 at the best of times. The fact that Lily Armstrong can have such a bad incident and be P10 by the end of the first lap. So it's testament to her that she's been able to come back up through there. But yeah, Lowe as well, having an incident where he did spin around, but then somebody hits it as there's a little bit of further contact there. Romagna going into the back of Whittle, I think that was, and even further issues for some of these drivers. So just it's not a luck of the draw thing that they're staying out of incidents, but it's certainly not necessarily their fault if they end up getting caught up in the top few, managing to stay incident free as it stands. But those drivers in and around 10th, 11th, 12th, in all sorts of carnage. And well, we're going to get a race replay here of exactly what happened in those 10th, 11th and 12th spots. Just another turn one outbreaking from Romagna that just went into the back, and well, that is not what you would want to see at this point in time. But there's even further race replays. What's happened on this was lap one, this was turn one, and you're watching Tedros, who brakes very early and just braked very early. Lily Armstrong wasn't expecting it, got caught off guard, and just ended up going into the wall and into the other competitors as well. As what's happening there, somebody's just completely outbroken themselves. Peter Lundqvist going off, and well, it's not been the day that any white cars pretty much would have wanted to pull out so far. Race replay then of exactly what happened to Lundqvist, and actually in the end it was the smart decision for Peter Lundqvist to go off of the circuit. It was that or go straight into the back of Tedros, and as much as it's the front of Tedros that will intimidate you, it's no part of that car is what you want to hit. So a very chaotic first couple of laps. Stevenson continues to lead. Lundqvist now look to try and pressure Mike Redford.
Interesting, in and amongst all of that, Lily Armstrong, fastest lap of the race so far, 5 minutes in. So yeah, some very chaotic stuff happening at the moment, akin to the real life Super Trofeo series that always leads itself to some interesting moments going on. But yeah, Lundqvist doing the right thing, lifting the brake, shortcutting the Ascara chicane to avoid any more carnage with Tedros. Unfortunately, Mike Redford did find his way through as well. Meanwhile, Peter Varga having a look up the inside into the second chicane. Richard Whittle on the outside. Can he get the car drawn up in time? He can't. There was a switchback attempt from Whittle. The front end being caught on the rear of Whittle's car, and round goes Richard Whittle, the 957, certainly in the wars this evening. That's going to allow Tedros and Peter Varga through. Big time loss once again. Richard Whittle, P11 down to P15 already since the last timing gate. So that's a pretty rough opening kind of stint to the race. But 55 minutes on the clock, still plenty of time to reset. And of course, that pit window open at the moment. Raphael Huell doing his best Peter Lundqvist impression. Is this going to be a one-to-one of what we just witnessed? Very late on the brakes into the back of a Rebound racing car. I assume that's going to be Joe Dorber. He was the back running car of the pair at the front. So Dorber round as well as Huell. Down into P6 goes Huell, and we'll wait for the timing gate to update to see where Joe Dorber is. At the moment, I don't think he's come through just yet as he shuffles down the order. Joe Dorber certainly P10 as we see a slipstream. Raphael Huell, Aaron Jackson. Jackson's going for the outside line into turn one. It doesn't always work. The last of the late breakers. Who's going to psych each other out? Both drivers managing to get it drawn up in time. This time, Raphael Huell prevails, but Aaron Jackson's car looking very quick in a straight line, as is Lily Armstrong's car as well. And interesting to note, Joe, I think a lot of drivers are forgetting they're in the Super Trofeo car and almost choosing their GT3 braking points just out of instinct and kind of muscle memory, then realizing, wait a minute, I'm not going to stop in time for this chicane, and having to take avoiding action. That's the only reason I can think of tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly dusting off the rust. We haven't had a Super Trofeo race for a couple of years, and you can certainly tell that by the end of the season. I'm sure they'll be in the swing of it, and well, just going slightly off the circuit there, Raphael Huell demonstrating just that going, and kicking some grass up as well. So just now trying to settle down and settle into this race. Will Stevenson settled in pretty well, 1.1 seconds ahead of this field, but those in the mid-pack haven't quite settled down yet. Raphael Huell, as I said, going off the second, going off again, just touching a little bit of the gravel, trying to get the exit. Just behind, though, you've got a potential side-by-side by both of the Calliope Police Department cars, and there we go. That is not what you would want to see if you were breaking a law, but in the end of it, it's going to be Lily Armstrong down the inside and through, so the damage is clearly not affecting her too much, and she comes out of it in P7, getting past Aaron Jackson, and they'll cross the line just as they were. However, Jackson could be going for a move back. Can he get the run into turn one? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think he's quite going to get it, but he's going to threaten the inside line from Lily Armstrong, trying to force a mistake, but in the end not doing so, and almost going into the back there. Les Stevenson braking very late for turn one, but making it through okay, and now potentially shaping up a move on the cars ahead. But these three are forming a battle now, I'd say. This could define their race.
Yeah, we do start to see these packs forming in these one-make races, quite kind of famously in the Porsche Carrera Cup. That always seems to lead itself to packs forming, and Ginetta Cup, we saw plenty of that last season as well. But Les Stevenson definitely wants to get a move on this evening, sniffing at the back of Aaron Jackson already after the mega catch-up into turn one, just being that a lot later and a lot harsher on the brakes, I can only assume, trying to get a good run out of the Lesmo corner here towards the Ascari chicane, tucking in the slipstream of Aaron Jackson. Will it be enough kind of drag and slingshot effect as they come under the old banking to pull alongside? I think it is, as a nose alongside. Space is given, but the inside becomes the outside for the middle part of the Ascari chicane, and the weight transfer makes it very awkward as you go from left to right, and Les Stevenson having to tuck back in. Joe Dorber in the background looming after his earlier on incident in the Ascari chicane. So the more these two squabble and fight and make these racing lines awkward, the quicker Joe Dorber will be catching in the Rebound Racing 777. Les Stevenson up the inside of the Parabolica, gets the favoured side, as I said, cambered towards the inside of the corner. Les Stevenson off up into P8, but Aaron Jackson staying in the slipstream, staying with him. But will he be brave enough, Joe, to try and outbrake Les into turn one? Certainly after last lap, it's not something I would like to try, and I think Jackson gave it a little lift before they got to the braking point, not to kind of overexert himself in the corner. But Joe Dorber closing on the back of these, making it a trio, and Lily Armstrong has escaped up the road from this pack, kind of 2.2 seconds to the good last timing gate, and Ted Ers and Peter Vargas side by side out of the first chicane as well.
Yeah, it's worked so well for Lily Armstrong, and now these two fighting away. Ted Ers in P11, just trying to get that position sealed on Varga, who's going all over the circuit trying to get through, but a little bit of a touch of the grass breaks the momentum, and he's not going to make his way through for the time being. But he's a very, very racy driver at the best of times, and he will not wait to seize his opportunity. If he sees a gap down the inside, around the outside, anywhere, he could try and make the move. And the next opportunity I think he's going to seek up is going to be into the Ascari chicane. We haven't seen it work today, but this could be the first time that we see it work. Or it could go completely in the other direction, and it could go very wrong. We'll have to wait and see. But not quite got the run on Ted Ers as they head down to the chicane now. And I think Ted has survived another lap late braking from Peter Varga, who doesn't make the move, but just stays right in both of the rear view mirrors of the number 11 car, right ahead of him, and senses an opportunity soon to do something in this race to move up into P11, the position which he lost on the last lap to Ers, and is now trying to earn back through right. Now as they head around the final corner, it could be, though, as we look further up, a potential move into P number 1 between Stevenson and Badowski, but Badowski just sitting in that second place for now. And well, he's closed right back up to Will Stevenson over the last few laps, so it's none of these positions are a foregone conclusion. And well, with Stevenson having been closed over the last few laps, who knows what could happen between these two on this one, the 6th lap that they have gone around Monza. And, just for now, Badowski is going to try to be patient. He's done the hard graft and the hard work catching up, and now he just has to sense an opportunity.
Absolutely so. And speaking to Team Monkey Racing, brief yellow flag out for Peter Varga in the 508 first chicane. Not sure what happened there. Maybe a little bit of an overrun, a little bit of a late braking move on that one, but nevertheless gets back underway. Race replay here. Could this be what I briefly saw on the track map? And I think it is, just running out of road to get the car stopped. bumped into Ted Ayres, who does a fancy 360 pirouette. 10 out of 10 for style points there on the inside of the first chicane. Both drivers getting back underway, but just a bit of a clumsy piece of driving, I would say, Joe, as drivers are certainly still trying to find their feet, I think, with these cars. You can really tell who's been putting in the practice hours and maybe who's kind of turned up about an hour ago and running their first laps. Will Stevenson, though, bit of understeer through the parabolica. Marco Badowski going to close up. Can he get the good run towards the first chicane, tucking in the slipstream at the moment of Will Stevenson? Will not really trying to break the toe at all, keeping it over to the left-hand side, and you can see there Badowski certainly gaining as he comes up to the braking zone. Who will be braver? Badowski pulls out, thinks better of it. It's enough to divert Will Stevens' attention, though. Runs deep in the first part, gets a bad drive off the second part, and has Badowski done this to set himself up for the second chicane more than the first? If so, this is going to take about half a lap of passing between these two. Stevenson goes wide in the Curva Grande to cover off the inside of the second chicane, forces Badowski to the outside. Both drivers side by side on the brakes. Badowski with the cutback. It's so close, Joe, but both drivers keeping it clean, and Badowski still isn't done as they head up to the Lesmo curve. Tries to find the inside line. Stevenson holds them off, and that's enough to separate the battle just a little bit, but Nico Kumpu looms in the background, and if these two aren't careful, Kumpu will soon be making this a three-way fight for the top step of the podium.
Yeah, Nico Kumpu, before this battling started happening, was 2.5 seconds behind on the road. So he's closed right back up on this lap, and it could be the opportunity the 256 has been waiting for this whole time. It's just about waiting for an opportunity, for a mistake from a driver ahead, and Stevenson and Badowski have certainly been fighting over the last couple of laps, and certainly it's been lighting up over the last one as they head into Parabolica. It could be a move from Badowski, or just waiting in behind, because the first overtaking zone is down into turn one. That is the prime opportunity to get past, and with Badowski sitting in the slipstream, it could be a split for Will Stevenson in terms of his mind, what he wants to do with this one. Last lap he didn't try to break the slipstream, and Badowski closed right back in. This time he's going to do the same thing. He wants to get into the head of Badowski, demonstrate that he's not scared of him, but he looks to the inside line. Badowski just backs out of it as there's just about not enough space given by the number 108, and well, these two are looking so tight together as they head through the first sector now. They headed through the first chicane okay, there was no incidents there, and they could be heading up now to the next braking zone, the second chicane on this circuit, looking for an opportunity. Badowski once again trying to shape up to the outside line, and Stevenson once again defending the inside and moving across just before the braking zone to hold this one off. This has been almost a pitch perfect defense from Will Stevenson, who holds on for another sector, but Badowski and Kumpu right in behind, ready and waiting for their opportunity. This is a crucial time now for Will Stevenson to really hold on to this race lead.
I promise you, this isn't a race replay. This is a new lap, almost 1-to-1 through the first couple of sectors there. But Nico Kumpu even closer than he was last time as they head up to the Ascari chicane, tucking in the wake of the number 45's car. It's going to be a three-way slipstream, certainly down towards Parabolica and into turn one, and hopefully everybody hitting their braking markers. The slipstream range in ACC, it's about half a second it kind of begins to kick in, and all three drivers are within half a second. So Will Stevenson get out dragged into the first corner. He's certainly suffering with understeer through the Parabolica, a much tighter line from Badowski, but Stevenson using all of the exit curb to try and carry as much momentum, and all three of them tucked in so close. You'd almost think this is a NASCAR race. Badowski goes to the outside. Kumpu thinks maybe I can go to the middle, thinks better of it, backs out of the throttle. Badowski lunging down the outside. Can he get the car drawn up in time? He does. Stevenson tries to do the old up and under. There's contact between Stevenson and Kumpu. Marco Badowski to the lead. Will Stevenson losing a bucket load of time now comes under fire from Nico Kumpu in the number 256. And all the meanwhile, Raphael Huel and the charging pack behind are able to catch a little bit more lap after lap. And Kumpu's going to go for the inside line. Tries to distract Stevenson. It's not not enough to divert the attention of the number 108, and Nico Kumpu will now have to do what Badowski had spent 2 to 3 laps doing, and that's sat behind Will Stevenson. But certainly Stevenson looks shook up by that initial fight. Of course, the contact through the first chicane, but Badowski already able to pull out nearly a second in this lap, Joe.
Yeah, it's looking as though Kumpu's going to take a different strategy to Badowski on this one, where he's going to try and force a mistake out of Stevenson, whereas Badowski just waited for that opportunity as opposed to trying to force it. But Kumpu now could be trying and getting past as soon as he can. He wants to battle for that race lead rather than get himself caught up with Will Stevenson for this second place. But the number 256 at the moment hasn't been able to make his way past Stevenson and actually lost a bit of time in that final sector. So it's the perfect opportunity for Will Stevenson to just try and settle himself down back into this race, because he would have felt as though he was all over the place, struggling to recover on those last few corners. But now he's had the opportunity once again to reset himself and go again, and he's going to have to go again and defend. There's no resting for Stevenson, at least not when Kumpu and Badowski are about, and Kumpu just sitting in behind as they head through turn number 1. He has seen some sense. He has seen that it might be worth it to just wait in behind Stevenson as Badowski made his way through on that last lap. Stevenson closing in back up to the German man in the lead, and this could be a very, very good opportunity for them to just settle down now, get into this race. They had their little bit of carnage and their little bit of fun, and now they're just trying to hold on to that lead as they saw Kumpu close in, and they're not going to want to do exactly that again, as we've got side-by-side action between Dorber and Stevenson as they head into the chicane. It's going to be Dorber that comes out on top. Lily Armstrong trying to fight with Boardman. This is not something you would have seen much of if you just watched the Ginetta Cup. But Lily Armstrong now trying to fight for P6 with Andy Boardman, and then both running off of the circuit, almost bump drafting for Lily Armstrong through. And coming out on the exit are both the Lesmos. She is right all over the rear of the number 69 car, currently sitting in 6th place. She could be looking for a move as soon as the Ascari chicane, because that's gone so well for drivers before, but on this occasion just not making that move stick. But this race has really lit up. We barely had a moment to breathe in these 20 minutes, and we're not even sitting in the cars.
Yeah, so it's very easy, isn't it? Sat up here in the commentary box, watching down on everybody and making judgmental calls. But yeah, being down there in the car is certainly something else, especially Andy Boardman and Lily Armstrong. I remember a Thursday champ that I participated in before turn to commentary, and the rivalry between those two was something else. So this does go back quite a few years now, but Lily Armstrong sniffing at the back bumper of Andy Boardman, going beyond the white line of the pit straight. The wall does narrow in on the right hand side. Got to be careful, the grass appears quite soon. Armstrong towards the inside. Boardman touches the grass on the brakes. He's going to run himself maybe a little bit too deep, somehow manages to get the car drawn up in time for the first chicane, and Lily Armstrong will have to go again on this one. And Joe Dorber in the background, dispatched of Les Stevenson. Those two are charging up with a fierce rivalry as well, as of course Christian Benz in P5 is technically the head of this train, and Raphael Huell in a bit of a John Dalton zone at the moment. Too fast for the guys behind, but too slow to catch the guys ahead. Sat in his happy no man's land, 4 seconds adrift from anybody, probably having the best Monza race of his life currently, as in the background Joe Dorber having to go defensive from Les Stevenson in the rebound racing 777. That's not something I thought I'd be saying, but Les certainly with some good pace today at Monza, especially down into turn 1. I'm still staggered the amount of ground he closed up on the brakes just a few laps ago.
Yes, it was incredible actually that he was able to get it stopped, but he did indeed, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing that gamble taken by at least Les Stevenson throughout the rest of this race. Now at the moment he sits right in behind Joe Dorber. It could be as soon as the next lap where he tries to make that move stick into turn 1, or he could try and close in Parabolica. It would be a gamble if he did, but he's bump drafting Joe Dorber as they head down to Parabolica now, and it could be the opportunity, but no, that bump drafting has actually broken that momentum for the number 46, and he's forced to sit behind down the main straight and forced to try and close that gap all the way back in, and well, it's a very long main straight, so I'm sure that he's going to get that opportunity to do so, and he is really closing in now. It's 2/10 as they cross the timing boards. Now you would say it's less than a tenth as Stevenson sits right in behind Joe Dorber, but cannot or does not make that move into one. Doesn't feel the confidence on the brakes that he had a few laps ago, and Stevenson just sitting in once again as we've had our first few pitters, and the pit window has opened. We've got Mike Redford and Tedder sitting in the pit lane at the moment, and they'll be making a switch.
A 57-minute pit window here tonight, rather generous on the form of the admins. There's a big send from the 777 Joe Dorber on the send investigation unit. I think you're gonna have to open a case there because that was certainly unforeseen. But Joe Dorber up into P7. They could now set their sights onto the back of Andy Boardman's car. Lily Armstrong fallen off this lap, comes under pressure from Les Stevenson. Christian Benz ahead, kicking up a bit of dust and gravel as he comes out of Lesmo 2, and the charging pack in his mirror is probably going to be absolutely terrifying if this gap comes down. This will of course become a 5-way fight for what is essentially P5, and even maybe Aaron Jackson for backup for the send investigation unit in the number 99. Everybody making their way out of Vascari. Over the gravel goes Boardman. Dorber follows suit. Les Stevenson also takes an excursion, and everybody fires their way down in towards the Parabolica section as our live stewards have begun to wake up. We had a question in chat if we do have live stewards, and we do. As you see a few penalties popping up, we're going to get to that report in just a moment's time. Reporter McKenna McConnell passing us pieces of paper tonight with her team underneath her. That's great to see, even still on Mondays, as Joe Dorber squeezes Andy Boardman through the pit exit line towards turn 1. Boardman a bit later on the brakes with the overlap, but the outside becomes the inside and vice versa. Dorber holds on side by side through the first chicane. Now, who has the better run? It's going to be very close, coming down as the bollard comes between the two cars. Through the Curva Grande they go. Lily Armstrong in the background, making the most of double slipstream from left and right sides of the road. Dorber on the inside will become the outside once again, gets the car drawn up in time. Boardman has to crank on more lock, loses momentum. That's going to make him vulnerable into Lesmo 1 from Lily Armstrong. He knows it, covering off the inside already with Les Stevenson chomping at the back of the number 88. Boardman feeling the pressure in this championship, Joe. Something, again, like you said, he wasn't used to last time in Ginetta Cup. Normally stuck it on the front row of the grid, drove away from the majority and had 400 points by the end of the championship, and certainly finding it a kind of flip side here tonight. Andy Boardman, P7 at the moment.
Yeah, Andy Boardman struggling for that pace so far in this one, and you'd think that he's going to try and kickstart his race somehow and kickstart his championship at some point very soon. But yeah, we've got potentially more racing going on. We'll take you through the stewards reports at the moment, but at the moment it's the police that we are watching, tried to go around the outside but can't quite get the move done on Andy Boardman, and just sits in behind at the moment waiting for that opportunity that could come into turn number 1. I mentioned that it was the prime overtaking opportunity, and Lily Armstrong is looking to take said opportunity heading down to turn 1. They are going so tight to the inside line. Lily squeezed so tight, but Andy moving to the outside to try and make the corner and try and get that momentum off of the corner, and does so successfully. Lily Armstrong forced to sit behind for yet another lap, but these two incredibly racy in this one. Les Stevenson, don't forget, in the background as well, looking like he wants to make that overtake, but just backing off as these two are scrapping so incredibly hard in this one. And well, they just stay in formation for the time being, with Les getting right on the back of Andy Boardman. I still can't believe how confident the number 46 is on those brakes as it stands in this race. But yeah, this pack continues on so close together, and you'd think that they are going to continue to stay in these sorts of positions, and they're going to continue to push each other to the very limit of this racetrack.
Yeah, of course, the very limits indeed. We're finding them at the Ascari chicane, the gravel trap taking a few victims already this evening. 33 minutes left on the race clock, 32 minutes just under on the pit window. We're coming up to the kind of halfway stage where we expect to see a lot of pit lane action. Ted Urs has retired the car, I believe. Theobald Roskam was the disconnect from the grid. I did say we lost one car instantly. High ping issues plaguing him tonight, and doesn't want to be a warping car and taking out everybody else in the race. So a very admirable thing from Theobald Roskam there. Of course, we have lost Matthew Malcolm as well out of the running order. Did have some wheel issues, I think, earlier on this evening, so maybe rearing their head once again. But it is Marco Badowski now a second clear of Will Stevenson at the front of the field. Nico Kumpu still continues to try and chase down the number 108. Hit a bit of a stalemate after the momentum earlier on. Christian Benz now sat officially in the John Dalton zone, I would say, quite comfortably away from everybody, although Joe Dorber 2.5 seconds just behind him, with Andy Boardman a second behind, with Les Stevenson also just about a second off there as well. So everybody still relatively close, speaking in their own packs. We do have some clearly defined packs on the circuit map. Of course, the lead trio, Mike Redford in the back of the shot there, the number 15 at the head of the chasing train behind, as we catch a race replay. Marco Badowski down into turn one. Oh, that was definitely a touch in the middle of the corner. Almost looked like Mike Redford was a bit too cautious on the brakes. Badowski was very confident, I would say, Joe, on the brakes, slammed the pedal through the firewall and realized that Mike had a slightly different braking point, I think, than he did, and having to try and take avoiding action. But Redford saw Badowski coming and actually turned away from the first part of the corner. So again, both drivers just about working together, but of course contact flagging up on our stewarding tool, so live stewards will be taking a look at that one. And speaking of which, they are up to date, I am being officially told, from the opening lap. It's only kind of taken them half an hour or so. We're up to lap 12 on incident reports. We've had quite a few racing incidents along the way. We have had some penalties being given out, so I'll start with the first one. Lap 1, turn 4, involving the 508, the 97 and the 95. It was a 10 seconds for the 508 for avoidable contact on that one. Incident lap 2, turn 1, involving the 29 and the 957, as we see Nico Kumpu up the inside of Will Stevenson. There's definitely contact in the second chicane. Stevenson has to shortcut. Kumpu gives him the space to come back on, but of course once you've been bumped off, you typically tend to straighten the wheel out and just absolutely go for it to try and clear that gap once again. So Kumpu now on the back foot once again on this fight. Lap 2, turn 1, involving the 29, the 957. It was a 5 seconds for the 29 for avoidable contact. We then have lots of racing incident, minor contacts along the way. Next one we see is lap 3, turn 9, involving the 777 and the 21. So 5 seconds for the number 21 for avoidable contact. We then have another racing incident, followed by a lap 7, turn 3, involving the 508 and the 48. It's another 5 seconds for the 508. That's Peter Varga. So 15 additional seconds to serve in his pit stop when he does come down the lane. And then we have some more racing incident, minor contacts, and we have a warning for car number 15 for avoidable contact on the 88. That's Christian Benz in the 15 and Lily Armstrong in the 88. So live stewards all caught up there. Last report was lap 12. We're currently lap 17, so could still be some more to come from this one yet, Joe. But half an hour of the race to go. The majority of the field are beginning to come down the pit lane as expected. So half a tank of fuel down the lane, the other half a tank forced to change tyres in the pit stop preset, in the pit stop rule set, on this one. So it does make everybody on a much more level playing field than what we saw, of course, at the Ginetta Cup, where we weren't sure if a lot of drivers were taking tyres, but everybody here not really having to look after these Pirellis. So absolutely taking a bashing in the first half of this race, I would say.
Yeah, the tyres aren't the only things that have taken a bashing early on in this race, as well, there's been a lot to watch for the stewards to watch, and a lot for the stewards to review, and it's just been a manic start to this championship. And I'm hoping partially that it does continue along these lines. Of course, not contact, anything like that, but that desperation to get past is something that's great to see. A race replay here then of what's happened between Will Stevenson and just a little bit of contact, potentially missing the braking point for the driver behind, but in the end it was Kumpu who ended up coming out in behind, and currently sits in the lead of this race, the only driver from that leading pack, unless you would count Benz and Dorber in that pack to not have come into the pits. However, he's just come around the final corner, so we could be seeing my words very quickly and out. He's going to continue on. As you mentioned, they do have a very long pit window, so they are not forced to come into the pits just yet. But over the next few laps, I'm sure we'll be seeing everybody else. And you said they would be coming in early. Kumpu has gone for the alternative strategy of leaving it very late here in Monza.
Yeah, I say it's very odd you leave it so late, unless the Rebound Racing crew have fueled that car a little bit more than expected, enabling Nico to kind of go a bit longer in some clear air, maybe to try and get some ground over Badowski and Stevenson. So it's a bit of an interesting tactic for sure, but again, we'll have to see how it works out. 25 minutes just over on the pit window, just under 27 minutes on the race, so not a lot of time once you do get to the end of the pit window for the checkered flag to come out, so it doesn't particularly make much sense to try and run it all the way to the end. Meanwhile, Lily Armstrong, Andy Boardman's off at Ascari into the wall, left-hand side of the road. Something has happened to the number 69 for sure. Lots of momentum lost. You could see how much ground they'd lost initially to Lily Armstrong and Les Stevenson. Let's have a look through the last part. Hooks the gravel and the car straight off to driver's left into the green wall, bouncing back out again. But that's going to be big front end damage for Andy Board. Don't think he's come down the pit lane this time, but certainly struggling, losing a bit of ground. Already taking his mandatory pit stop, Joe. So another kind of is just going to cost him even more time than what he wants to certainly cost himself. And Nico Kumpu coming around the final corner, will he elect to take his mandatory stop this time by? I think he is coming into the lane. He has slowed up. Marker has gone grey on the board. So Christian Benz promoted to provisional race leader. News from Matthew Malcolm. It wasn't a wheel driver issue. It was in fact an ACC fatal error. Not seen one of them in a while. That's put him out of the race today. And the terrifying face of Ted Hurst has retired, of course, to the pit lane. Many laps ago now. Officially, his eyes did not enjoy sim racing with the cold and hay fever that they're suffering with. And it is a prime season for hay fever sufferers. So we hope you do manage to fight through the pollen that is about at the moment, coming into the summertime, especially in Britain. Top three pitted: Kumpu, Benz and Dorber all down the lane. Varga still eking it out along with Lundqvist. So it could be the joint Peters towards the top end of the field provisionally before they take their mandatory stop. All while two cars, Joe, have taken their stop, and some have left it a little bit late. So going to have to see where Nico Kumpu, Christian Benz and Joe Dorber slot back into this field.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested to see about Kumpu, because he looked racy earlier on when he was against Will Stevenson and of course Marko Badowski, but now that he's going to be a little bit further back, because of course that's what happens when you go for an overcut, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Aaron Jackson going all the way over to the left hand side of the circuit to try and get past Andy Boardman. He does so successfully and actually crossed the timing line, 0.002 seconds ahead, so very tight between the two. And in the end, Jackson going wide at turn number one, just missing his braking point, but does enough to hold on to the position. We'll see what the stewards have to say about that one. The track extension, of course, not ideal, but turn number one, we've seen quite a lot of that today, with people missing their braking point, maybe getting a little bit nervous. But it's one of those circuits where it's just so easy to make a mistake at turn one. Heavy braking zone after it, going very, very quickly down at the main straight, and that is just part and parcel of this Monza circuit. And yeah, I'm sure they will be facing repercussions later on. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with Gumpu. And actually, he's gone long, but he's come out ahead of where he would have been before, 2.1 seconds ahead of Will Stevenson, and just 0.6 behind Marco Podolski.
Yeah, not a bad place to be. Not a bad place to be at all. Not really lost any time, but certainly cleared Will Stevenson somewhat there. Just looking at the pit stop times, everybody relatively the same. We've got the slowest stop being a 1 minute 17.4 from Adam Romaniuk. That's going to be some damage fixing. Damien Lowe actually 127.8. That's measured from pit in to pit out, so it does kind of take the run in and out of the box as well into the factor. We know Damien Lowe, big damage from the incident earlier on with Peter Varga. Les Stevenson on the flasher for some reason. Not sure if that's aimed at us in the broadcast or, of course, Lily Armstrong. Some drivers do listen along as they race to maybe get an insight into what is going on. Les so confident on the brakes into the first chicane, closes up that gap somewhat to Lily Armstrong, and then the gap extends back out. It's a bit of an illusion almost from the TV cameras. Fastest stop though, I think tonight goes to Nico Kumpu, 107.6, providing that Peter Varga and Peter Lundqvist don't set the timing board to light through the pit lane. So a good stop from the Finn, slightly less than ideal stop from Marco Badowski, 108.8. So time gained for Kumpu there, and equally Will Stevenson a 109.4. And we did say earlier on in the broadcast, kind of time will be won and lost on pit lane, and Nico Kumpu certainly well rehearsed in the pit sequence of the Super Trofeo.
Yes, and well, he'll know exactly what goes on whilst they do that, and knowing exactly when and just what to pit onto is going to be really important in this race, because it's not necessarily one that he will be winning on track, but it's certainly one that he could win on the pit strategy, which would end up sending him to the top of the timing board. Les Stevenson trying to fight away with Lily Armstrong, and closing right in as they head to Parabolica. This battle could be on. Both of the police cars have been very, very active in this race, and the front of Aaron Jackson's car actually looking much worse for wear, as we got a little glimpse of it earlier. But Lily Armstrong's looking a little bit better, at least the front of the car, and now Les Stevenson is hoping to see the back of her, as he goes through into turn number 1. Lily pulls off to the inside line. Les just going through, trying to be later on the brakes. He's gone very deep, and he's actually gone too deep, taking out one of the markers and letting Lily Armstrong back through. So a shame for Les Stevenson there, as on this occasion his confidence on the brakes has not translated into a positive result, but he's been able to make that move stick.
It's always that thing as a racing driver, isn't it? Thinking, I could probably go later on the brakes, and then you go that fraction too late, and suddenly you're off the road. But Les certainly struggling with that middle pedal. Maybe the duct's not open enough on that Lamborghini, although air temperature is down a degree from when we first started. 29 degrees in the air, 36 down on the track. Not a lot of wind speed either, so there's not really an explanation as to what's going on currently with Les Stevenson. Raphael Kiel, though, prime John Dalton zone, if ever I saw one. 7.8 seconds clear of the car ahead, and 2.7 seconds clear of Christian Benz behind. So nobody really to phase him. Just got to drive all the way to the end. Under 20 minutes to go now, so should be a comfortable space, providing Christian Benz can fend off Joe Dorber. Because again, Dorber looking very quick as well, and consistently quick nonetheless. Personal best last time by across the line, 147.8 for Joe Dorber. Personal best again, Nico Kumpu, 147.3, quicker than Badowski, running a 147.6. So again, is Badowski struggling in these late stages? Nico Kumpu always kind of stands the test of time, especially in endurance races. Very quick, kind of, you know, stint after stint. Just can't phase the man into making a mistake. So the 256 setting themselves up for a final assault on Marco Badowski. Peter Varga finally comes down the lane. The 15 seconds is cleared from their name, so that won't affect their final race time, although any penalties given out from here on after will be added on at the end. So again, something to note. And Nico Kumpu, last time by, fastest lap of the race, Joe, 47.382. The Finn is fired up. He wants to close down that gap, and he wants to definitely get a solid start to the championship here today.
Yeah, and Will Stevenson not quite having the pace of these top two is in this race, as the qualifying pace hasn't quite translated to the race pace that Badowski and Kumpu have had. They've prepared themselves more for this, and they are now reaping the rewards as Badowski, who has led for the majority of this race. He made his way past Will Stevenson early on, and he's made the opportunity at work. He built up a huge gap, but now it's been reeled in by Kumpu, and the number 256 is now going to try and make this opportunity stick, as he's right on the rear there as they head through Parabolica now, and even closer to the rear as they head down the main straight, pulling to the outside line there as Badowski covers off the inside, and they are going side by side as they head down to the first corner. Kumpu does not have that slipstream, and it looks like Badowski has gone for lower aero, meaning that he's going to be quicker down the straights, and Kumpu's now picked up that information. He knows the situation with Badowski, so this battle could go a little bit differently, as Kumpu will try and spot an opportunity that isn't necessarily down the main straight on the next lap, knowing that when he pulls out of the slipstream on Badowski down the main straight, he's not going to get the straight line speed advantage that he would have so desired, or the straight line speed advantage that he would have gotten using the slipstream. So it's all information gathering, and Nico Kumpu now knows this for a fact. He knows that he has to get through somewhere else that isn't the main straight, but where he goes is another question, and this is one that he's going to try and ponder over the next couple of laps, and potentially only the next couple of corners, as he's right behind Badowski again. It seems to be that second sector where Badowski starts to struggle, and it could be a move into Ascari if he can get close enough, but no, just staying in behind Parabolica beckons next, and that could be where Kumpu decides to make that move. We've got 15 or 16 minutes left in the session, but around 15 minutes to go in this one, and Nico Kumpu right on the rear of Badowski. You'd think that after all of this, it's going to be a straight shootout between these two for the victory. Of course, if they fight too hard, then Will Stevenson could come back into it, but Kumpu is going to go for that move into Parabolica much later on the brakes. Sometimes, as we saw with Les, it won't pay off, but this time it certainly has, and the race lead switches once again. This time, it's a new race leader. Nico Kumpu retakes the lead that he had after the pit stop window.
Yeah, absolutely so. Up the inside of Parabolica, but Badowski is coming back. He's slicker in a straight line, as you said earlier, Joe. Can't quite get the overlap, and Nico Kumpu covering off the inside line will put himself on the apex of turn 2, and now all he has to do is gallop away from Marco Badowski, although he won't take it lying down either. This fight could go to the end, but as you say, if they're fighting too hard, tripping over each other, Will Stevenson 2.7 seconds down the road, that will soon come down if these two begin to fight. I mean, Kumpu 148.1 last time by, Badowski 48.4, and Will Stevenson 48.7. So he's already taken a good chunk of time out of them last lap just by a few squabbles that they had. It wasn't even anything too major. Meanwhile, Joe Dorber onto the back of Christian Benz in the number 15 towards the Lesmo section. They'll go. Again, if Kumpu and Dorber are sharing setups in this car, which I imagine they probably are, because I can't foresee there being too many kind of pre-made Super Trofeo setups out on the market. We could see Joe Dorber, of course, struggling a little bit in a straight line, but making it up through the corners on Christian Benz, and that gap is obviously literally less than 2/10 now, as Dorber looks to the inside. He thought about it, and I think he offset himself, missed his braking point ever so slightly, and having to back out and take a less than ideal line through the Ascari chicane. Christian Benz through the gravel. Joe Dorber dips a wheel as well. And that'll be interesting to know how many track limits people are on at the moment, because we've seen a lot of drivers going wide through the Ascari chicane, but no drive-through penalty yet. As I say, holding on to the desk in front of me, touch wood, we won't see one, because of course that will put the nail in the coffin for a few people's hopes here tonight, as gaps have really began to spread out across the field. We've got a pair at the front, we've got a pair kind of in the mid-pack between Benz and Dorber. And then we've got a pair towards the back. I think it's Varga and Withel fighting away as well. At least they were a bit closer as they went through the Ascara chicane. Varga going a bit wide there, and there you go, Withel in the front of the shot as well. And a pair ahead, actually, in the form of Romaniuk, I think, and Lundqvist. They look pretty close on the track map, although that is quite deceiving because Romaniuk, very far off the back of Lundqvist's 999, and not bad, Joe, considering Lundqvist started from the back of the grid today.
No, certainly not bad, and he fought his way through the carnage to get further up in this field, and I think starting from the back here is going to it's going to give you much more of an opportunity as Richard Whittle sends himself off of the circuits at turn number 1. How many times have we seen that today as he lets Peter Varga back through? But it's the circuit where you can start at the back and you can find yourself at the front by the end of pretty much lap 1 if you time it right and you get lucky enough, as Joe Dorber now right on the back of Benz, who runs wide out of the Ascari chicane. And this could be a move into Parabolica for Joe Dorber, who could be looking to the inside line. He does look to the inside line on Benz. Now he's going to have to be much later on the brakes, but he can't quite do it. Benz ended up being the driver later on the brakes and ended up being the driver to sit in that 5th place. But that just opens up the door once again for Joe Dorber to make that move down the main straight there, almost trading paint. And those wing mirrors getting oh so close together. Wouldn't have been surprised if there's a few scratches there as Dorber comes so close to the side of Benz. This racecraft is incredible as it later on the brakes for Dorber takes P5. Benz allows him the position in the end. He sees that he would have lost even more time in fighting that one, as they are only 3 seconds off of Raphael Huel ahead. But that's Dorber up into P5, Benz down into P6. But it's great fighting. But yeah, as you were saying about Peter Lundqvist starting at the back, and he made his way up. It's really, this is the circuit to start at the back with, of course, the rest of the 5 rounds that we've got in this season. We are going to Paul Ricard next, which I'm sure could be chaos at turn 1 with a little bit of elevation change as you head through the first couple of corners. Then Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, before rounding out the season at Bathurst. And Bathurst always carnage anyway, so maybe it's here or there where you want to start at the back more than any other. But you've still got to fight your way through, and we've got to give Lundqvist some props.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bathurst is one of those circuits where if the mountain gets blocked, it's somewhere where you don't want to be, is at the back of it, just waiting for it to clear and drivers sort themselves out. Christian Benz into the wall underneath the bridge. I can only assume he's caught the gravel, almost a one-to-one of what we saw with Andy Boardman just now. Over the curbs he goes, hooks the anti-cut curb, misses it actually, runs a bit deep, touches that wheel in the gravel and snaps violently over to the left-hand side. That green wall certainly seeing a little bit of action tonight. That's going to be big damage for Benz. I'm not sure if the steering is straight on that car. I'd be interested to see kind of inside the car. Looks relatively straight as it can be from our point of view. I mean, we're not seeing masses of kind of, 25, 30, 45 degree angles of steering to keep it in a straight line. So I think, Joe, he's got very, very lucky with licking that wall, because that could have been, much more serious, completely kind of unraveling his race, especially after being up inside the top 5 for so long, and Joe Dorber just clawing his way back through in the last 10 minutes.
Yes, and well, it's one of those things you do sometimes have to get lucky with the contact model, and that's exactly what he's done there. So just been able to resurrect his race from there, and he's now going to try and just come back at Joe Dorber, although that gap has been extended. But yeah, these drivers now heading through towards the end of this race. We've got less than 10 minutes to go in one that has flown by, and it's just been it's not been a carnage fest. There's been a lot of strong racecraft on offer here today, and I think the drivers can be very proud of themselves after everything that they've done throughout this race, and especially those right at the very top. The battle isn't over as well at the top with Kumpu only 1.1 seconds ahead of Bodovsky, but that gap has increased over the last lap, and well, the last few laps at least, and 27 laps in, the top two still quite close together. Will Stevenson as well, sitting in the background. His pace has stabilised over the last few laps with, well, Marco Badowski and, Marco Badowski and Kumpu ahead. That gap hasn't increased. It's stabilised at about 3 seconds between themselves and Stevenson. So maybe the 108 had made a mistake and he was just trying to settle himself down once again, which is a rinse and repeat of what we saw earlier when there was moves being made for those higher up positions. But it stands now with Stevenson in P3 and, well, it looks as though he's going to settle for a podium here in Monza for the first round of the Super Trofeo. Rafael Huel then sitting in P4, as he has done for the majority of the race. He's not had much on-track action, but I think he'll be happy with that outcome.
Yeah, it's been a relatively quiet one, hasn't it, for Rafael Huel? Kind of sat in the no man's land that is the John Dalton zone. Of course, 8.5 seconds off Will Stevenson, not able to match the pace, but still beating the likes of Joe Dorber and Christian Benz lap after lap, able to fend those guys off. Lily Armstrong, of course, staying within reach as well through Lesmo 1 there. The number 88 in P7. Again, a safe gap back to Andy Boardman. No issues for them on that one. And Adam Romaniuk, a stark difference on the last time we saw him in a Super Trofeo car, taking P3 in the championship standings. Maybe just struggling to get aboard the car in the latest iteration. I think we've had a few patches since then, so maybe not quite what he's used to, but we'll have to see how his championship progresses over the next few weeks. As you said, we're here every Monday. That's round 2 next week. Paul Ricard, Watkins Glen the week after, Laguna Seca the week after that, before rounding out in Bathurst May 26th. So we've got a whole month of racing ahead of us here on RCI TV. As I alluded to earlier in the broadcast, we do have other events over on the website, racerci.com, including the Le Mans Ultimate GT. That's on Fridays. Round 3 this week heads to Interlagos. Saturday, the following day, we mirror that, but with Hyper Sprint in Nadal. That is also at Interlagos, and World Tour 2025 has a shuffle incoming to allow kind of teams and drivers to drop in and out of the season as they please. It should make it a lot easier in welcoming new teams and lineups. So head on over to the website, get your name down for that one. Next race is the Nürburgring 24 hours. That's Nordschleife Nürburgring, by the way, not the GP Strecker. So that begins 11 a.m. practice, May 17th. Race should begin midday UK time. Of course, website times are adjusted for your local time zone. And we mentioned them earlier, but the partners revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Ready, Set, Sim. Build your dream rig in seconds with their sim rig builder. Their mission is to simplify sim racing by providing a comprehensive and personalized experience. Whether you're a novice looking to get started or an experienced racer seeking to optimize your setup. And they have also put forward the €400 prize pool offered alongside our RCI trophies in the RSS Endurance Series. Laguna Seca was the weekend just gone. Still 4 more rounds on the calendar, including Watkins Glen, Road America, Indianapolis, and Road Atlanta, rounding us out on September 27th. So if iRacing is your forte, get your name down for that one. Still spaces, 53 out of 60 sign-ups, so still 7 spaces left to go on that one, and a very competitive field that we witnessed last time out. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7. Available in 9 languages, giving you access to setups, racing lines, and data analysis. Why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Check the link in the description below and take your racing performance to the next level. Greenman Gaming, a recent partner for us here at RCI, where you can buy games and game keys with Greenman Gaming. Get the best prices, awesome bundles, and exclusive game deals daily. And currently, I think they have a Golden Week on sale. So that's any kind of old titles that you might remember from your youth. certainly have a look at that one. Some bargains to be had there. IMB Racewear, the title sponsor for our community series, and also putting on some prizes for the esports series as well. They provide fully custom designs to allow sim racers and real life racers to make the impact that they've always wanted in their clothing. From gloves to socks to jackets, you can be sure that every piece is crafted with precision and style, and also performance in mind. Motor Racing partnered with last year. We're of course thrilled to partner with a leader in high quality sim racing gear, and they have everything to boost your racing experience, so be sure to check their link down in the description if you are looking to pick up any new hardware this year. And lastly but no means least, Motorsport UK Esports, where we're a recommended community, and you get various benefits from a membership with Motorsport UK, including, I think there's a deal on iRacing, if I'm not mistaken. At least there was last time I had a look there. So if you are looking to dip your toe into the iRacing world, possibly head on over, grab yourselves a Motorsport UK Esports membership, and get signed up to iRacing, and maybe join us in the RSS Endurance Series, which is a brilliant step into the world of endurance. Meanwhile, tonight, just over 2 minutes to go. Pit window under a minute to go now, which is irrelevant. Everybody has made their mandatory stops, and it's looking like Nico Kumpu has pulled out some pace in this last segment. 2 seconds clear now of Marco Badowski, and equally Badowski 5 seconds clear now of Will Stevenson. Raphael Huel, I think, has chunked down the gap a little bit to Stevenson, but still 7.8 seconds separate them, and keeping Joe Dorber honest behind, although Dorber slightly quicker last lap, 47.7 versus a 48.1 from Raphael Huel. So Huel maybe just turning down the dial ever so slightly, knowing the checker flag is looming. I think we've got this lap and one more to go, if my comms box math is correct. Leader coming down to Parabolica, so next lap will be the final time, and Les Stevenson running out of time to put a move on Andy Boardman. Of course, this gap now under half a second, and Les within slipstreaming range, Joe. We've seen how confident he can be down into turn one. Will we see a late Banzai move from Les, or will he play it safe and just take away the P9 points today?
Yeah, we're potentially overconfident into turn one, I think, on a couple of occasions here today. And I think with only 1 lap to go, I think he will try to send it into that first corner, as he sits right in behind Boardman now as they head around the last couple of corners on this circuit. Of course, Parabolica being the last one. Not many corners around this one where the straights dominate, but still, those corners provide ample overtaking opportunities, and Les has been favouring that first corner. But we've seen a move fail from Les Stevenson into the first corner. Is he this time going to be able to come out on top? He's going to close in on Boardman down the straight, looking to the inside as Boardman tries to squeeze him all the way in, and Stevenson makes his way through. Doesn't even need that braking zone, making his way through into P8. Nice and simply. Boardman not putting up too much of a fight, knowing that they're actually going to lose time, as Stevenson outbraked himself into that first corner and could have come under pressure, but didn't quite. He did run off the circuit, but not enough to lose that position. So Stevenson, I said he was holding onto it. Well, now he's clinging onto it, but I think out at the end of it, he is going to be pretty happy with where he's come out in P8, and I think today he can be pretty happy with an 8th overall, because, well, fighting with Andy Boardman, that is going to be something that he can take home and be proud about. As we've got Kumpu around the final corner, he kept pace with the 2 leaders earlier on, and then when it was his time to shine, he certainly shone here in Monza, as he will come up to the line in the number 256 Rebound Racing car to take the checkered flag and take victory here in Italy. The first round of the season goes to Nico Kumpu. 2nd place for Marco Badowski, and 3rd place for Will Stevenson. I'm sure we're going to see those top 3 on the podium many a time across this season, but it's certainly a good start to the campaign. 4th place will go to Raphael Huel as he comes across the line now, and well, 5th even for Raphael Huel. 4th place for Joe Dorber. 6th for Benz after mistakes earlier on. Huel coming home just behind Dorber in the end in that 5th place, so that would have been very, very tetchy between those two as they came up to the line. Stevenson is going to come around the final corner. Boardman's got nothing left to fight with, and Stevenson's going to come home to take a P8 to kick off his championship campaign. And, well, that's very well done for him as Boardman spins across the line. Peter Lundqvist coming across in P10 with Romaniuk. A surprisingly invisible race today. The only notable thing he did was pick up a 5-second penalty earlier on. He comes home in 11th. Peter Varga in 12th with 13th place. Will be Whittle on his return. Redford in P14 will be the final finisher in this race. And, well, that is 15 finishers that we have had today. And Kumpu tops the lot.
Yeah, 19 cars began today. 15 cars finished, so a relatively high rate of attrition for what was such a small grid. There are a few issues plaguing drivers, game crashes, hay fever, striking down one of them, and high ping for another. Redford, final car across the line, the number 95 there, and you see the retirees at the bottom of the standings. Nico Kumpu does take top step of the podium, Badowski second step alongside, and Will Stevenson joins them on the prestigious platform. I think, like you say, Joe, we are going to see these three locked in a fight. Raphael Huell, interestingly, let Joe Dorber go coming out of the Ascari chicane. Not a lot of throttle as they ran down towards Parabolica, and Joe Dorber went through, so possibly a little bit of friendship going on there. Maybe Dorber thinking he has a chance to take away a championship title in this season. Nonetheless, good result for Rebound Racing. If we did do constructors here at RCI, they'd certainly be fairly high up on the standings at the moment. Christian Benz managing P6, Lily Armstrong and Les Stevenson 7th and 8th, Andy Boardman P9 and Lundqvist P10. Romaniuk, Varga, Whittle, Redford and Lowe all take the checkered flag. Aaron Jackson didn't manage to take the checkered flag. I was trying to work out what driver did disappear. That explains that one. Ted Ayres in the most cursed livery ever, P17. Hay fever struck him. Matthew Malcolm with a game crash, and Theobald Roskamp with a high ping decided not to start the race for the sake of the other drivers. So a very valiant effort nonetheless on that one. It's been a relatively, I would say, calm race, but it has had its chaotic moments this evening. So it's always good to sprinkle a few bits in here and there. As I alluded to, of course, earlier on, LMU on Friday and Saturday this week, GT and Hypercar, both at Interlagos. Next week, you've, of course, got myself and Joe back for round 2 of Super Trofeo at Paul Ricard. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how the championship pans out in round 2. Of course, we do allow mid-season sign-up, so if you do want to get your name down for the Lamborghinis, head on over to the website racerci.com, and you can find a link down below. You see all the chaos kicking off at turn 1, cars backwards, cars sideways, bollards crashing down, and a few drivers down the escape road to boot. So not a boring championship by any stretch of the imagination, so certainly get your name down for that one. RSS Endurance Series in iRacing, that's still got sign-ups open. World Tour Reshuffle is coming to allow more drivers and teams to sign up for that one. So head on over to the website racerci.com. Of course, Discord, home of all things social. Get involved, have a browse around the boards and see if anything takes your fancy. And if you do want to get involved with us here at Staffing RCI, we're always on the lookout for commentators, broadcasters, and I'm always told you can never have enough stewards. Full training will be provided. Head on over to the Discord, find the staff vacancies board, and DM the relevant staff member that you need to get your name in that one. So why not become a part of something rather interesting in the realm of sim racing, especially with iRacing gaining in popularity. LMU, of course, making its way up through the ranks. Plenty more to come on RCI TV nonetheless. A big thank you to all our partners. They've been revolving around bottom left-hand side of your screen. Ready, Set, Sim, Coach Dave Delta, Green Man Gaming, Moser Racing, IMB Racewear, on that one, as well as Motorsport UK Esports, where we're a recommended community. You should be able to catch LMU GT on Friday on RCI TV. That's on both Twitch and YouTube. So be sure to hit the follow button, the like button, and all that good stuff. And of course, a big thank you to you guys at home, whether you're watching along, watching back. We know some of the drivers do like to watch back as well. So we hope it's been an interesting broadcast for yourselves. But it is time to say good night for the evening from myself, John Dalton, from Joe Black alongside me. Of course, Ash Bibby behind the cameras, and a big thank you to all of our live stewards. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and we hope to see you on Friday, where we head to Brazil for LMU GT. Take care.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control. The world blurs, time won't wait. We rise, we fight, we accelerate. 3, 2, 1, go. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. We're always chasing taillights. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring.